This is The Gem on the Queen's Crown, a podcast talking about Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio sports. Here's the host, Lee W. Mowen. And this is episode number 16 of The Gem on the Queen's Crown. We're doing something very special today. Back here with Mark Schlemmer as we introduce the Roundtable. We bring local sports fans in and we have a good old time talking said sports. Episode 16 of the Gem on the Queen's Crown. You can find it on gemcitysports.com, theleewmowen.com, along with iTunes and your favorite podcasting apps, Google Play, iHeartRadio, StreamPod.net, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, and also you can get email updates on my website, theleewmowen.com/podcast.
You didn't leave anything out?
No, that's why I have to keep writing it every time. Because
why don't you just say the ones that they're not on?
What's a Stitcher?
What's
a Stitcher?
It's
You're asking me?
It's a podcast
I thought it was somebody has sewn up a rug or a baseball.
Yeah, that's like fixing jerseys being a stitcher.
This is all high
Is that what
tech.
the guy did in the game the other day where the turf was torn up? He had to dump everything.
I think he's on Stitcher too.
Yeah.
It's many podcasting apps. Try to spread it so people will listen to it. But like I mentioned, Roundtable, Mark, we got Adam from St. Louis, and Tony on the microphones today. Gentlemen, say hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Most people remember Tony from being on the show. Tony, Chris, what are you in? You're at your 38th year now at school?
Something like that. I don't know. Since 82, whatever that adds up to be.
Don't look at me.
Point.
Your hero, Jethro Bodine, and his Gazinta's birthday today.
Yeah,
that should
I
be
saw that
easy.
in the paper. Jethro Bodine.
I couldn't believe he was still alive. I thought he's actually gone.
Doing some ciphering.
I still want to know what the secret was they hid during the show, because I always see that on the internet.
It never tells you.
I know. I read through it, and I never, like Mary Ann had a secret on the island.
It's just clickbait. I know what that is. I might not know what
Your
a
daughter
Stitcher
must have
is,
told you
but
what that
clickbait,
was.
Well, yeah, that and how to work my phone.
All these gizmos and letters that they post, the LOLs and all that. But no, we're going to try we've talked about, Lee and I talked about this the last time, of bringing in different people during these things so we can do the round table, because we had a lot of fun on the show, and they don't want to hear me rabble for every week, so we're going to do this. Actually, Big E was supposed to be on this one, and as well as a comrade, but the comrade is deathly ill. Not deathly ill, but he's ill. Big E is tending to his father.
Comrade didn't break any ankles jumping off.
I think the Pulitzer called him home, actually, but he's just, the double knot spies. They can't let that out.
Ohio State not getting in the tournament.
I was really looking forward to him being here today, too. I wanted to see how close he was to jumping off the cliff after yesterday. I did.
Depends what day it is.
It's only Monday. It's only
they just got done. And the commissioner, he is smoking cigars like crazy out of 2 SEC teams in the playoffs. Mr. McKinney, he got called into work. But they'll be on a future one, don't worry.
Yeah, we're just starting out the podcast.
We've got a long list of people wanting to play.
Well, the first thing is, this is not a round table. I think Tony was the one mentioning it. This is a rectangle.
You can't get anything past him.
Why did they call them wings boneless wings when they didn't have bones in them?
You've got to explain that, because I've tried. I remember it was at either at Tailgaters.
Tailgaters, yeah.
And I can never remember. You asked, and the guy just stood there dumbfounded. Why is one more expensive than the other?
Yeah.
But I can't remember what the original question was.
Well, boneless wings were more expensive than the regular chicken wings. I said, well, why is it more expensive? Doesn't even have bones in it.
Well,
the guy went back to the kitchen to ask. I remember that.
Yeah, he was a little befuddled.
Well, he
was a whole lot of befuddled.
You got to pay a little extra for the labor to take out the bones and the wings.
Well, how come they're not shaped like wings? They're just little round nuggets.
That is weird. Why not just call them nuggets?
Where do you get that much meat? I don't see that much meat on a wing itself. I mean, to be a ball.
These are
where does
kind of
that come
questions
from?
we used
Nuggets
to ask
are not
those guys.
nuggets. We both know what those
Rooster
are.
nuts.
Rooster nuts.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You got to use all the chicken.
We used to have, for those that remember the show, that was part of the allure of some of the remotes, which were still legendary, and many commemorative coins were given out for those things, was between you and Greavy, eating every chicken wing these places had. It got to almost be comical.
Well, yeah.
Paradise Key brought out
They had roasted chicken.
a circle.
Wasn't really wings. It was more like a.
It was like half a chicken.
Yeah.
And these guys, no chance. You weren't with me the day of the barbecue cook-off. You didn't do that one with me.
No.
It was over in Kettering.
The one that was at the
VFW.
Okay.
I got there on Friday and got home Sunday. That's how good it was. No, that's no kidding.
Not bad.
I just remember the guy saying, midnight you'll start smelling different. That's when they season them. Oh, man. Walking around getting samples of everything under the sun. But every one of the people, you got to have a beer with it if you're going to have some of the chicken and the roast and all that. Okay. I'd never done one of those before, so I went out like 2 hours before the show that Friday. That made for a good show. But sitting there that whole weekend, tasting all that, oh my God. But yeah, the remotes, those were fabulous.
What were some of the favorite remotes you guys been to, and some of the remotes that you remember fondly?
You were at all of them with me.
Well, I just sat back and watched a lot.
That's because that was half the fun.
We weren't allowed to drink. I mean, we
Yeah,
couldn't
well,
sit there with beer in front
I see. I
of us.
didn't know that originally. In that cook-off thing, I had like a train full of them
By
up
the
on
time
the
I
table.
showed up, they told us we weren't allowed to drink.
That's what plastic cups were for.
I don't have much of a comment about that.
Well, I was just anything you guys were ever at Bricks. Everything at Bricks was always fun. I remember I went on the show. Didn't they have a beer tasting at Fifth Third Field?
Yep.
Yeah.
I won that there. Like I said, I won one of those. That was always a great time. I actually took a friend of mine with me. He was actually my boss at the time, and I worked for Rent-A-Center. And he can drink more and faster than anybody that I've ever known. And we both just had a blast. I mean, it just. The old show always felt like to me that it was, when you called in, it wasn't like you were talking to somebody who was bigger than you. It was, you felt like you were talking to a friend on the phone more than anything. And that's what I always loved about it.
If I remember right, Bricks is where the original Tin Man came from.
Yeah. It was originally made
There
out of
it is, right there.
Also, yeah. But then we went and had one professionally
The
made.
first one, though,
It's made out of tinfoil and
was hung up
straws.
above our platform. I don't think that was funny.
everybody else did.
Everybody else did.
Just because you didn't think it was doesn't mean that it wasn't.
12-pack was always a classic coming to these things.
Yeah.
All the remotes, I don't know that there was ever a bad one. I mean, the one B-Man and I did up in Troy for a Bengal Brown game, Nude set the world record for food and drink at a Frickers. Everything on the menu, I think he had. It was an incredible performance by the
Nuge played
Nuge.
some good bumper music, though.
Yeah, now Nuge, he's still on here in Cincinnati.
Really?
Yeah, he's still down here on EBN, I think.
Yep. Yep.
I don't remember any of the remotes that. I remember one that when we went to Paradise Key,
Yeah.
going in
Guy's
there.
name was Eddie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Fast
Yes.
Eddie.
Yeah.
He's still the owner.
Eddie
isn't he?
Paradise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they got another one up in Bright State, isn't it? Paradise Key 2's up there, I think.
That I don't know, but like I said, I actually talked to Eddie probably within the last year or so because a friend of mine that actually he's in a band around here, and he used to host the karaoke that Eddie had at Paradise Key, within the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I remember his TV commercials. I'm
Oh,
a big
yeah.
fat white guy. If it ain't good, I'm not making it. He was also the originator of stay open after 2:30 in the morning. Don't serve beer.
Right.
All the drunks come in and eat breakfast,
eat
and then
their
at 5
food.
in the morning we
You
start
can
serving beer
serving
again.
Absolutely.
But I remember we went in there that first time, and I just remember going, "Oh my!"
Yeah. That
By
was
the
different.
time we left,
Oh, yeah, there was
there's a hell of a
100
party going
people
on
in there.
Yep.
The one at Barleycorns.
Yeah, that was St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Yeah, the one guy fell off the chair before we ever even got started.
Yeah. That's where the Amish leprechaun got his name.
Yeah, we were talking about that the last one, of the people that were all part of this show that are gone now.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't know if you ever found out if he passed away or not.
I have no idea. Wasn't able to find
I'm
anything
guessing he
out.
probably did.
I know he had health problems.
Tara Clara's gone.
Yeah.
Scott Herman's gone. Tom Patton's gone. It's just amazing how many people have that were part of it that made it what it was that are gone now.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting in Hera Clara in either her obituary or the announcement that they have at the funeral she had her name,
Yep.
Hera Clara, on and in that obituary and in the program that you get from the funeral. I mean, that's the impact of the show. I mean, that's how it stuck with people.
I think that was the one thing, and Tony was a big part of it because he sat in an awful lot too. The one thing I think I was the proudest of was that the people that made the show, and we're all that family. The show that Jack Pohl was on, and nobody ever knew Jack was funny. I mean, hell, nobody knew Jack was funny. They still don't know Jack's funny. But he stayed in there the whole time, and I can remember McKinney calling in saying, I'm on 35 and people are laughing, and we know what they're laughing at in the car next to each other. The people, it was just the city's show, and how many people were part of it and still are. That, I think, was a prize. Every time you were on, people knew you were going to be on.
Yeah, you would let them know.
And it just got to be comical. You know, Nate the legal analyst, whenever he was on, they knew he would be on Fridays.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it just got Tim Williams was a part of it. Greavy was a part of it. Just all the listeners and callers.
I told you this a long time ago. With being able to be on your show, that it was. I told you it was like 1978 all over again. Meaning, in 1978, when I was in college, and we would sit by the swimming pool at Furwood Apartments, the Cement Pond, at Furwood Apartments, sitting there drinking beer, talking about what we saw, what we read in the sporting news, what we saw on ESPN, because that had just come out, and what we had seen on the new cable.
What was the beer of choice back then?
Goebel. Fine French beer from Detroit.
Go down and get a $4 case.
Yeah, but it was that your show was like that, and that it was a bunch of people, men and women, who just liked to talk about different sports and sports in general, and you just kind of BS'd about it.
It was
nobody
fun.
took things overly serious, but it was serious that you were speaking
now wait a
about
minute.
it.
Now wait a minute. There was a gentleman in Springboro. He's got a hand in the dirt. He took it serious, dude.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He had a game plan.
Well, he also had an umbrella in his Bud Light line.
I remember and that's honest to God truth. This man can still to this day, I'm sure, drink more than anybody ever.
He drank a lot.
I'm trying to think I think it was at Tailgaters, actually.
Yeah.
The bar guy came over to me as I was leaving. He goes, that guy over there, the hairy dude, he drank all of our Bud Light lime. And he's still going. It's like his sixth bucket.
Everything they had in the bar.
Well, down at Dublin Pub. Steve walked over and he went, that guy just drank all of our Bud Light lime. I know. Don't worry.
But we did make him smile once.
Tony brings an umbrella for the Bud Light lime and puts it in his beer. It was
one of them little umbrellas you put in
cocktail.
Just a little cocktail umbrella.
Yeah.
It was his
Should
goal.
be in a fruity little drink.
It was Tony's goal to make him laugh and smile. And it took a while.
It did.
But he finally got him. But the people and people always, hey, nickname me. Give me a name. It just happens. It doesn't just, not something I set out to do. But I think the fact that they all felt like they were family of that show, and I think that's, and Lee and I have talked about this on a couple before, that's what the area is missing now. There isn't that show where you feel part of it. And I think that's where people really miss out. And the media was all involved too. We had all the people from TV.
Oh, TV guys would love to. They call in. They like to come and sit in.
One of my fondest memories of that, do you remember Stanley Mouse, Tony? I know you've been around for long enough. He was basically ran Channel 7, the paper. He was pretty much it.
Channel 7 guy.
He showed up at the studio one day at the Oni Studios, a competitor, obviously, and just wanted to come and sit in the studio and watch the show. And I always thought that was so cool. He said, I don't want to be on. I just want to see this because it's so much fun to listen to. And I remember the people in the building weren't real happy about that because they're like, what the hell is he doing in here? I'd never met him, but it was just it was that kind of cool around town where everybody was a part of it, no matter what station they were on. And that's what made it so special. And I think that's what people today have really lost touch with. It's the people that called in that were the show, not just the guests we
men,
got.
Women, young, old.
Oh, my God. We have them all.
A lot of it covered. You're right.
I mean, it was from the homeless to the mayor is pretty much and everything in between. It was just really, and it got to where we didn't have to really go look for guests to call in. The comedians
Yeah, the guys
Oh, my
that were
God.
downstairs at Wiley's would come up.
Absolutely hilarious. Over at Funny Bone.
Yeah.
You know, getting to meet the Ralphie Mays and the people like that. That was so much fun, and now it's just like reading numbers. That's all these guys. There's no personality to it, and that's where it's so sad. But I don't know that there was ever a show we did that was bad.
It was a forum for
Chaos.
different. Yeah, really.
We'd eat on the air.
It was a forum for different views in this town. There's this town got a lot of different views.
This is
And
the perfect
it's
sports
not
town to
bad.
me.
I'm meaning, yeah.
We're not locked into the Reds, Kentucky. We had it all.
Yeah.
You know, we could go anywhere, and
Baseball,
it was okay.
Football, basketball,
And any
even kickball
team.
occasionally.
Yeah, you're the one.
I started
Okay,
the kickball,
folks.
I know.
Since I take a lot of the bullets for that kickball comment. Oh, one guy undressed me the other night about 2:30. Oh
Tell me
man,
about
just
that.
just got up me good about
kickball.
my derogatory comments about kickball. Obviously, you don't understand
It's
what
a
a beautiful
beautiful
game.
game.
So,
Yes.
what was my answer? How about a yellow card? How's that for understanding kickball? I know my kickball. Skinny kid runs to one end, fat kid kicks it to the other. Simple game. Very boring. But here's the man that originated, and it was third world kickball, if I remember correctly.
You're correct. Yes.
People didn't care for that at
Well,
all.
it's big in those countries. It's not big in the United States. It really never has been. And even when I grew up, you had youth soccer was kind of a big thing, but it never got
It never
past
grew.
that. It's gotten better now. You look what's going on in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati and Columbus. I don't get the Columbus saying Bolton, but it has its pockets.
Yeah.
It's like hockey. It's not.
Yeah, it's like hockey in the United States. It has its places.
It's got its place.
Yeah, and with the World Cup coming up and the U.S. not being in the World Cup,
That doesn't help.
It doesn't help. Yeah, it really doesn't.
One of 37 different soccer tournaments.
Exactly.
Open cup, closed cup,
I don't-
sideways
there's-
cup.
But if there's a
upside down
soccer
cup.
event that I watch, I mean, that I would watch, I mean, it would be, if the U.S. was in. The times that I've watched the World Cup, it's been because of
If
the
you
U.S.
put USA on a jersey, people will watch it.
Absolutely.
Those fans, no matter whether it's United States fans or other countries, those are rabid fans.
They're crazy.
Absolutely.
They are.
That's what I was just
They
getting ready
follow
to say.
their program.
I mean, if you look at
to
a
the
game
death.
worldwide, soccer is probably the biggest
It
sport
is the biggest,
in the world.
yes.
Did you see the one I posted today? They cut the statue of, was it Messi? They cut the legs off of it
I
again?
see my wife's
Yep.
page. So.
Yep.
Yeah, they cut the legs off of it.
Off a statue?
Off a statue. It's like,
Did they
nobody
get a
heard that
blowtorch
happen.
out or something?
It was a nice big old statue, and
And
it's
how
the
did
third
that go
time they've done it.
unnoticed? How did that go unnoticed that
Yeah,
somebody was
took the
doing
legs
that?
off of it again.
Lieutenant Dan.
You got new legs. You got new legs.
Oh my God!
He ain't got no legs.
Yeah, the show. What people when they would come in, and I know you used to hear this a lot too, Tony. People that would sit and watch and basically see behind the curtain, they would then know what went on during the breaks, or when people would call in, like Dick from Dayton, and the reactions we all would have. And they always would come back and laugh, going, I know exactly what you guys were laughing at now, or how things work. That was always fun, letting people see how things behind the curtain, happened. I hope one day, someday, somebody in this town will have another show like it. I don't know if it would ever be duplicated. And I don't tell you, and Adam, you were part of it too. Why? People ask me why. Was that so much fun?
It goes back to when I said half jokingly earlier about 1978 sitting by the pool. It was a bunch of people who had an opportunity to express some opinions and not be cut off, not be told they're wrong very much.
Or put on hold for an hour.
That type of stuff. And it was just like a big BS session. Sitting around for 2.5,
4
3
hours
and
every day.
talking about what we saw in the paper, what we saw in the news. Although the paper now, you'd have to talk about something from 2 days ago, so it was already old news.
Right.
But it was that way. It was just a bunch of folks sitting around talking about something that they had a little bit of passion for in their sport or in their area, in their neighborhood, in their town.
You were with me the last remote we did at Frickers.
Yeah.
And you'll remember this very clearly. I can still remember the reaction on your face. when the Pearson kid from Trotwood got a
Yeah,
hold
the
of
boxer.
us, the Olympic
Right.
boxer,
Mm-hmm.
and his dad got a hold of me before we went out there and asked if he could come on.
And you had his
Yeah.
coach, who he didn't know was coming.
We
came
get
in from
there,
out of town, the Olympic
And
coach.
he tells Tony and I, don't tell my boy, but the Olympic boxing coach is coming out and his trainer to surprise him.
Yeah,
And I
from
remember going, you're talking
Colorado Springs out in the Olympic.
I think it was, yeah. I asked him, I said, are you talking about the main guy? And he goes, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the reaction we got from back in the
From
station
in the studio
was interesting.
Well, they just said, so what?
Well, there was a word in front of that.
Yeah.
Rhymes with duck.
Who gives a?
Yeah, it's only boxing.
Yeah.
But the funny part of that,
There's a lot of people that called in and wanted to talk to the guy. He's an Olympic
well, the
boxer
TV
right there
people
from your
got a hold
hometown.
of me and went,
Yeah,
how the hell do you have him?
Yeah,
We
you had-
can't get him.
You had
Well,
3 TV channels in town come out and
all did an
interviewed him.
interview him. The interview
your
that I
show.
remember was when Hitch actually did the interview from Channel 2 when he asked Tony Tilford at the time why this show was the only one in 60 years that had ever made it. And I can still remember thinking, oh my God. I started counting backward. And it was every bit of 60. And there's been a lot of attempts, obviously, that never really caught on. And that's always stuck to me. And I've always given people that answer, like Tony said, the people are what made that happen because it was their gig. The going away thing at Bricks that day, the last party we had, I think that surprised the people at O&E for one. It surprised me that many people showed up. I can still remember Don May sitting at the door waiting to get in Bricks.
really.
Came back from North Carolina. He said, heard about it, and I wanted to come back.
Yeah, we were out of town. I don't remember
It was
what our trip was, but football
incredible.
was out of town.
Well, the one at Tailgaters, we came back and did the podcast
Yeah.
after we've been gone
Yeah,
for
there
about a
was
year.
7,500 people come just sit down there and watch that.
They
Yeah.
couldn't get in the damn door. I didn't know it. You didn't know because we were up on the stage on the thing. But just a response from the people that the saddest part is not being able to do that anymore. The Facebook page is fun, but it's not the phone connection. It's not the same. It's a
You don't get to
cluster.
hear voices.
and remotes. You don't get to see the people.
And see the people. Without a voice, you can't put a face or a sound to what you think somebody is. And then when they show up at a remote, you go, oh,
We used to
that's
laugh
them.
at that at remotes. Tony and I would up on the dais, it was a dais, whatever the hell you call it, and you'd see people walk in where
Try to
Tony and
guess
I
who they
knew
were.
who they were, and you start looking at each other like, oh no, this has got trouble written all over it. But every time they were
Well,
like
it was
magnets.
Steve from Springboro.
Oh, I remember the first time at the bowling
he
thing.
would be. You
Oh,
knew he was a
yeah.
crazy Browns fan, just a wonderful Browns fan.
Crazy
And so you
is
would
the
wait
term.
to see how he would interact. And he'd give some guy some crap, and they give it back, and it's back and forth. But they sit there and have a beer and listen to the show. So it was a camaraderie that came out of it.
It was incredible camaraderie, and it was like they'd never met, but they just knew who each other were.
Yeah.
It's just like, and Tony, I'd look at him going, oh no. And before they're just having a beer with each other.
Yeah.
Back porch. I mean, there were so many great names that came out of that show and so much fun. But, the sports part of it was anything goes. We'd set the topics up, and if they wanted to go on a different road, we'd go there.
Yeah, topics were fluid. I mean, you'd have somebody call in and bring up another subject, and all of a sudden that was gone. It would take off.
The toughest part about it was if they didn't call in that time frame where that topic was on,
Or they couldn't get in.
they couldn't, and it was a rule of you got one call a night. Otherwise, you're going to get over and over the same people. But it always went fluid. There was never a bump in the road. And the fun part, all the people in the building, they always knew when the food got there, but they wanted to be part of it. How many times Mr. Tilford come down and sit in?
Yeah.
I mean, they had a ball doing
You
it.
had the Friday when the girls would come up, and the ladies
chicks
would come
picks.
up from downstairs, and
Yep.
they didn't know. They were picking because they liked the color shoes somebody was wearing, but that was
Anytime food would roll in, and we had it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it got to the point where we didn't have to go worry about eating. They all knew where the studio was. So there was so many great memories. But the people, like we were talking about here, Clara, I got a message from one of her kids right after she died about that obituary you were talking about.
Right.
And that just kind of makes you go, okay, that's why I'm doing this. It makes it worthwhile. Or the Tom Pattons, it was right. You were in with me the night, I think it was Brad Dreesen's wife called in. He was in the hospital, not doing well, and she called in to let us know that time frame was the best part of his day.
Right.
Those are the times you're speechless. You don't realize how many people you're actually touching by what you're doing. And those are the times when things irritate you, just kind of go, oh, that's why you do it. And that's why the Facebook page still
gives it a little bit of purpose. And you didn't realize, I don't think you realized it at the time.
Oh, hell no, you don't.
As you look back, a lot of folks had fun. And, I mean, the people out there listening, people like you said, McKinney was saying, in cars. I know we would have it on in the locker room over at the UD in the football locker room. Guys used to get a kick out of hearing what's
Big
going
Play
on right
Bengals, the one guy, and you remember Big Play, the original producer.
Yeah.
And to this day, I would still have trouble doing it, where he would teach, he still try to teach me it's not the lights on the phone bank that are lit up. Yeah, that's good for the callers and stuff, but it's the people, like you said, who're just listening, that don't call. Hell, you and I used to laugh. Who calls these stupid shows?
Yeah.
What the hell's the matter with these people? And then all of a sudden, hey, will you guys hurry up and call? You know, but it was, and I had to teach me every day, quit looking at the phone bank. I'll put the calls up, but it's the people not listening. That's your ratings, and that's the people that you got to worry about. The one that stuck with me, Dreesen's was one, but a neighbor of my mom's died. I go to the viewing, and his wife takes me up to the casket, which I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
He's got a transistor radio next to his head with 980 on it. And she goes, I just wanted to let you know how many days I had to eat dinner with you. And my only response, Tony, I looked at her and went, just be glad I wasn't on at night. We'd have been in bed together. She looked at me like, oh, my God. But it was just, like you said, you don't realize it at the time. And to me, it was fun. It wasn't hard going in there every day. It was just fun because you look forward to that 3 o'clock hour knowing, hey, I'm going to get to talk to a lot of fun people at this point. And we did.
You said about fun and different people. It was varied, too. It wasn't just baseball, basketball.
No, it got out of hand.
But I think of the guy that you used to talk with that was the pro out at CCN. And we started talking about their caddy program.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we had two different guys on it.
And how that was affecting a bunch of high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
we got some good free golf out of that.
I never
Country Club of the North, yeah.
No, you were done, but you got.
Well, they only let us play at 7 a.m. before anybody was there, so we couldn't. And that's no kidding. There was nobody on the course but us.
You got bounced before I got a chance to play.
You're leaving, sir.
I do remember that. We were going to play the following week.
Oh, Stolly and I had a great time out there. But it was always early in the morning.
I think also something else that you used to do, the mud volleyball, where all those people that you'd go out and MC it a little bit, but they would call into the show. Different teams would call in and say, hey, we're participating in that.
Well, the first year I got involved in that, because TUE was one of the main sponsors, and we had, if I remember right, I want to say it was Jennifer Seaman. She's married now, Rosati, I think's her married name. She's on the page. She came in and talked about it, and I remember during the show she made a comment, we're like 60 or 80 teams short. Can you help? And I remember just going, hey, look.
All of a sudden they had more than they knew what to do.
Just come on, step up, help us out. For 2 years in a row we did that. But I had more fun going out there because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know that Wagerson place was back there. It's just a big old open field. That's where I learned what bovine bingo was.
Bovine bingo?
Oh, good. I'm not the only dumbass in.
Right.
They got a big thing, a big field next to the volleyball pit.
Yeah.
And they put squares. It's like a checkerboard. Where you, like $25 a square, and then they let a cow out there wherever it takes a dump. If you got the square, you win. I'm looking at this going, wait a minute. You got to be kidding. Nope, bovine bingo.
I never heard of that.
But B-Man and I, the first year, it's storming to beat the band. Lightning carrying on. And we're up there on the back of this flatbed with all this electrical stuff. But the amount of people that were involved in that, Jim Hosfeld was a huge help to them putting it together. But to get involved, like you're saying, in events like that,
yeah,
it's just another thing that makes you go, wow. And then you look back now and go, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a neat event.
We got involved in an awful lot of that stuff. The charities, Don Brown's Bowling was always a fun one. But you don't realize it at the time how many people come out because you're out there doing it. The show was out there. How many people got involved? The hospice. Yeah. Oh, my God, I forgot about that. That was one of the better ones.
Yep.
When they asked to be the spokesman or whatever, the MC of that, what an honor. Absolutely an honor. But just the people we got to meet, not just the listeners and the callers, but the comedians that would come in, the Ralphie Mays. I spent 3 weekends
Schneider.
with him. I'll never forget.
Rob Schneider comes up. You thought he was a stiff, but he knew more baseball.
Well, that wasn't the word I used, but when Nate was with me.
Yeah. I remember listening to that because I was at work.
We went downstairs to meet him, which is, I never went down there before they came up, and he was already irritable from doing all the FMs. And I just remember him going, all right, what are we talking about? And my response was that same word that rhymed with duck, you. I don't care if you come on or not. And I made the comment, I don't know, we'll probably beat up on Dusty Doubleday. And he looked at me so funny, he goes, you're talking about Dusty Baker, he's my best friend. And he and Nate got in a conversation for like 2 hours, and he didn't want to leave. But it was just the ability, I still don't think he's funny, by the way, but just to be able to meet these guys you see all the time, like Finesse Mitchell.
Yeah.
What a hoot he was.
Yeah.
The only dud we had was Butter Jesus guy, Haywood Banks. He showed up with his guitar out of the remote. You didn't miss much.
No.
He finally packed it up after 20 minutes and exited. Well, I asked him, do you know anything about sports? No. What are you here for? I was dying trying to get him. He made Nate sing, which was classic.
I can't imagine
oh, no, it was not good.
Yeah.
But just a chance to meet Ocho Clowno the night he came on for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And people will always ask, your guest. I wish it would have kept notes, and I never did.
Yeah, you should have kept a spiral notebook every day.
But just the people that I'll see on TV and go, oh, yeah, we had him on.
Yeah.
The Jerry the King Lawler. My last show.
Phillips just called up out of nowhere.
Yep, that night at the last show. Nobody knew it. Jerry the King was one of the best guests we had in studio.
I would have paid to
That's why we couldn't let it out.
I would have.
We couldn't tell people like with Ocho because if they found out, my God, the parking lot would have been
nuts.
It'd have been nuts. Lawler was hilarious. He didn't leave either. He wanted to hang around.
He's the king of Memphis.
I just think they found out once they got in there, it wasn't doing their act. Hey, you want to answer calls? Go ahead. And they had a ball doing that. But yeah, I mean, just some of the great memories we had and some of the people. And I know we're forgetting a lot of the people that were all part of it. I just wish one day we'd either have a hell of a good party, get everybody back together, or just somebody wake up in town and realize what you had.
Well, I can remember, when the show was on, and like I said at the time, in that time frame, I was working for Rent-A-Center at the time, and I can remember, always knowing what time the show came on, and I would figure out some way to be out of the building at the time to either, to go out in the company truck and go and run collections for them and repossess things, but it just something to put me out of the store and into a vehicle.
3 o'clock.
So I could listen and be a part. And, Mark, the entire time any time that I ever called in, that's the problem I think with national shows is that you feel like you're going to get big time the whole way. You're going to get about 10 seconds. You're going to ask your question and then you're off. It was never anything like you felt like you were calling and talking to
we
your
let him
dad,
talk for 20 minutes. We didn't
your
care.
brother, right? And that was something. And I really think more than anything, from just a caller standpoint, that's what made it special to everybody else, was because you didn't feel like you were calling in and you were going to get shut down after 10 seconds or so. You felt like you were talking to your dad, your mom, your brother, anybody about somebody close to you about sports. And that's why I always loved it. And that's why I always found time to listen to it, for sure.
The best part, especially when Tony was in there, if I wanted to eat some of the stuff that was there, I could, and he could take over and talk.
Yeah, we did that a couple of times.
But
we into the bathroom or something, or get something to eat.
Well, the parts that, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, the people like the girlfriends, the women that would call in, or they would just message the show or me, or call my office in the station during the day, and just, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but it sure is a lot of fun. That was always nice, that the people that didn't they really didn't know, but it was just, like Tony said earlier, it was for everybody. It was just, boy, we'd go off on some different.
Well, yeah, it was
on some
sports,
wild tracks.
Sports at the base, but sometimes it got off to
it got
different things.
It took a lot of left turns.
Relationship stuff sometimes. It just
I can remember
twice.
twice.
Back and forth.
Comrade Ortiz, who went by Ortiz Flyer back then,
Ortiz
ran over
Flyer.
his mailbox twice on the air.
Ran into his mailbox?
No, he backed over it, pulling into his driveway as he got home because he was on the phone, and he backed over his mailbox twice.
Wow.
And Hera Clara would call in shortly after happy hour, I think, and then she'd start spitting out words like a sailor.
I remember seeing her at a couple of Dragons games when I was working down there after you have a remote, and I'd go back downstairs. And, yeah, Hera liked to have a cocktail.
She was always good at it, Hera. Always
Yeah.
at the gate. She'd be in the pub.
And she was occasionally sounding like a sailor.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
You had to watch the dump button because she would get rolling. And
Actually, she was one of the main reasons we put the dump button in on both sides of the board. Because the first time she did it, we realized, we don't have a dump button. And we actually had to put one in. But the shows that are around today, they're sad.
It's not about the people. It's just trying to get the topics and the numbers across. Whereas, people
But
don't
they're
feel
not
like they have a voice.
personable. If I want,
not that you weren't you didn't have a producer and it wasn't a production.
where's the production?
Things on that show were fluid, and nowadays it seems, whether it's a national show or you listen to something out of Cincinnati or someplace else, it's more scripted almost.
It's things you've already heard, and it's things that you already know. And if I know this information already, then why would I be interested in continuing to listen to it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people today, and you probably know better than I do, a lot of the people like on ESPN, they're not sports casters. Most of it is written out for them.
It is. You have writers. It's they're presenters. They're like a lot of the people on the news.
You know who our
They're
presenters
news
were?
readers.
You
They're
and
not
me.
right.
You'd write topics up and bring them in or send them to me.
Yeah,
that was
send
it.
you the topic. We'd sit there with the newspaper. Every day you get the newspaper. We're just sitting in the studio going, hey, I just saw this.
Or I mean, the nice thing about O&E, Tony Tilper was my boss, but he left me alone. I mean, there was never any, all right, what are you doing today? Don't do this, don't do that. I was pretty much just free to go, and I had no clue of radio, as
There
you
was
all figured out.
structure, but not topics. They didn't tell
No,
you
they didn't
how
tell
to
me
do
not
things. Yeah.
yes and no, and it was, I could say pretty much, like Tony said, sitting around a cement pond or a pub and just, you're talking. You could do everything but swear. And then occasionally that happened.
But that's what the dump button was for.
But it was personable. It was fun. The people never were a dull moment. And sports, there's never anything dull either. Which, I guess I should get into some of that before the day's over. The college football playoffs. The topic of all time this year. Will it
Ortiz
change
Flyer,
things?
Right.
Has he jumped off the bridge yet? Is
That's
he
why
boycotting
I
the
was
world
looking
to
for him
football
to be here.
now?
I wanted to see how that was.
Well, he was in Indy at the game. It's amazing, and fans are flip-floppers, all of them. 1 year, no, you shouldn't let him in, but if your team's the one getting in, it's okay. And now, the Alabama thing, and I saw Mr. Potato Head, Paul Feinbaum, this morning, made the comment that he knew Saban started making phone calls at midnight, calling in favors to get Bama in the playoff. Yeah. Okay, if that's how it works. Now,
You got to sell yourself.
I don't know there's a right answer, wrong answer. I do know that they want conversation, and they sure as hell got it.
Well, parody. Parody is what they got out of that, and it seems to me that I'm a Michigan fan, and anybody who knows me knows that. But I when I talked to Mark yesterday, I said if Ohio State gets left out of this playoff, then it's an absolute travesty. It's
What
an
about
absolute,
USC?
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaving everybody the west of the Mississippi basically in a crapper.
and two conference champions to be left out. What's the point? I mean, we even, like I said, I was thinking to myself yesterday, and Mark brought it up talking about Central Florida, about UCF. Okay. let them in one time.
Boise State had the same thing.
They did that with Cincinnati back a few years ago.
That's right.
Right.
Brian Kelly bailed on them before the game.
But, you know, under this format, the way the college football playoff is now, if you let them in one time, it's really a win-win situation, because if UCF comes out, plays Clemson, and gets boat raced,
like Ohio State did,
right? You can look at them and say, you know, this just lends more credence to the fact that we don't think that you belong here. And then if they win, you look really smart for doing it.
They get Auburn. Central Florida gets Auburn now. What if Central Florida beats them? Auburn could have been in the number 1 or number 2 team in the playoffs.
You had a win, though.
All right, but I'm just saying they could have been.
A lot of the talking heads during the week, and I agree with them when they say this, that the playoffs have happened. The playoffs have been the last 2 weeks.
Pretty much.
Those who won, move on. Mm-hmm. Those who didn't,
Alabama proved you can't win your own conference. That's where I like the basketball. I don't like that you give non-conference winners a chance to steal the ring, but Alabama had their shot. They lost.
Well, and Ohio State had their. I know where you're going, and I'll still say Iowa.
That's all. That's the only thing.
But you did come back and you won your conference.
Okay, Syracuse and Clemson. It's the only game Syracuse won.
Yeah, can you also point to the way that Ohio State lost to Clemson last year and them not wanting a replay of that?
Yeah, but
and they got shelled by Oklahoma. Don't forget that one.
That was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
about this year, and that's what they tell you, but it's still in the back of your head. Think of that when they talk about seeding for the NCAA tournament in the basketball.
Well, preseason polls. It's all last year.
Thing. Yeah.
Now, to me, the first mistake was you have 5 power conferences in 4 spots. There's some real math right there. That's a problem waiting to happen.
Well, goes into 5.
Something didn't goes into. Yeah. Okay, what are you going to do? You're going to give it a 6? You're going to give it an 8? You got a month between this weekend and the big games. Why can't you take this 4-week period and play us? Division 3 does it. 2 does it. Why can't they? And I know the old argument I used to hear.
Don't give me the stuff about class.
No, well, that was part of it. But it was, they're not going to travel. These people won't do it.
Class was such a big deal.
Yeah, they're not playing school.
Why were they talking about Barrett all Saturday, spending 15 hours in treatment for last week? Mm-hmm. He didn't go to any class.
Cardale Jones said it best. We got to play school. It's a minor league system, but why can't you? Do you think the fans won't travel? That was the argument we used to get all the time. Oh, you can't expect the fans to travel 3 weeks in a row. Why not?
Well, that would be tough.
Corporate money?
No, the day in and day out fan, the guy that goes to Ohio State, who's got a season ticket package for 6 games and spend his $1,000.
But they're not traveling to the Orange Bowl or wherever bowl they're going. Most of them aren't.
You get a lot of it, though.
I bet it would work. How do you fix it then? You've watched from the lowest levels with UD how they do it, how that level does it. They don't have a problem.
You're also traveling there. You're traveling regionally. You're traveling if it's over 420 miles, you fly. If it's shorter than that, it's a bus. You're looking 7-hour bus rides.
Can it work? Can they fix it and make it work?
TV can fix it, make it work somehow.
Now, granted, you're going to have number 9, number 10, whatever, still complaining.
Right. I mean, even if you went to 16.
Well, somebody made an argument with the map.
No matter how many teams you allow in, there's always going to be somebody on the outside of that door.
Yeah, that's true.
Looking in and wondering. There's never going to be a perfect playoff system. I mean, but like I said, this is where we went to. This is what we deal with. But I mean, again, if you're talking, 4 spots. And you have 5 Power 5 conference teams, someone's going to get left out, but it also brings that conversation and keeps people talking, and it keeps that interest that college football is looking for.
They got it.
You got 4 spots for 5 power conferences,
right? And then you screw Central Michigan last year was the odd man out. Mm-hmm. They were the flavor.
Okay, but that also tells you that those 5 better win out.
How much
you can't be 2 losses.
You again are going to know this better than any of us are. The Big Ten not getting in that Final Four, getting nobody.
How much money?
How much money did they lose because of that?
I don't know.
But a barrel of it.
Whatever you divide out from each of the bowl games.
But that
'Cause whatever
bowl
that
game's
bowl
going to be
payment-
huge.
When that bowl payment goes to the conference and is divvied out to everybody, whether you won one game in the conference or you won all 6.
But they say the Big Ten's a weak conference, but you have 3 teams in the top 10. How's that work?
Who says that?
Oh, the talking hairdos. The commissioner even said it. The Big Ten was not a strong conference. But yet you got Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State in the top 10.
I mean, if you want to talk about Big Ten being a weaker conference, the SEC as a whole, they weren't very good this year at all either. They weren't.
Yeah, that's kind of cyclical. I know where you're going with that. I think that.
What'd you cyclical?
Cyclical. That means
Good
like a big
word.
circle what comes around
word.
goes around.
Holy moly.
I are educationalized.
Can't you see the smoke rolling out of his ears? Mind blown.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big time. That's
The only
college.
word you ever cyclical was baseball when they were cyclical and around the bases.
That happens
Cyclical?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a farming term. The sickle, that's where you got it. See, you're just honoring Jethro Bodine. I knew there was a trick to that. Cyclical.
Don't get me in back
I never
over.
knew that people would learn on my podcast.
Holy
That's awesome.
moly.
I can't spell it, but I can.
I was
say
going to
it.
say, don't worry. People are there.
Now, what I was getting at, smart ass.
Now, this
Yeah,
was
the
a better.
the SEC right now. Yeah, the bottom half of that league sucks,
Absolutely.
and the bottom half of the Big Ten isn't very good.
No.
But, and I'm going to go off the board a little bit on this. When we look at leagues like that, and even out west, the Pac-12 and the Big 12, whatever they're calling it, Big 8 used to be.
Right.
When the scholarships are all changed 15, 18, 20 years ago, and you went from 195 to 85.
Right.
What did that do? That produced 6 more teams in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of parity
That-
all of a sudden.
Yeah. You got a lot of people and teams that used to have guys that never played, so they were junior, seniors, and your red shirt, and they're powerhouses
Mm-hmm.
because they'd have 100 guys on scholarship, and they're just sitting there holding people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many number 2s do you see in the Big Ten? Backups. Your depth isn't there on a
Right.
lot of places.
Right.
Hell, there's all kinds of kids in Florida who are playing at other schools who can show up and play as freshmen
Mm-hmm.
or a sophomore you get in,
Mhm.
where you'd sit for 2 or 3 years and use a redshirt year. You think of the old Notre Dame people, the old Ohio State, Oklahoma, UCLA, USC. They'd have all these guys all of a sudden they're seniors, and wham, where were they at?
But the kids now,
Right.
and when you were back playing, or either you two, if you're in there now, are you going to bolt like most of these kids and go for leave after your first 2 years if you're not playing? Kids aren't hanging around
No,
either.
no, that's true because there's other places. There's more places that somebody's
That's
going
what
to
I
pay
think.
you to be there.
Why do you want to go and have Ohio State on the front of your shirt if you're not going to play till you're a senior now? There's too many
Yeah,
opportunities to be had.
Yeah.
It's like the one and dones. Are you in favor of that or not?
I used to say no. I'll just have it. If a baseball kid can go out of high school, if a tennis guy can go as a 16-year-old, a hockey kid can go as a 16-year-old.
How do you tell them
Well,
no?
A golf guy.
Exactly.
If you want to
And-
go play pro ball and somebody's going to pay you, go ahead. And in 3 years, if you can't hack it, well, not to drive in a truck is a bad job. You go become a truck driver. You become a laborer. You do something.
Most of the kids don't go to school to go to school.
True.
It's like the minor league system, and that's their step to get there.
Yes.
And the whole idea of going to college is to make a living anyway. So I don't know that they've ever found that bridge. Like you said, if you go and you bomb out, okay, now what?
Well, my problem with the one and done thing is if that's going to be the case, and if that's what these kids want to do, and I don't fault these
No, I
kids
don't have
going
any
to
fault
do
for
this because, really at the root of it is most of the time that a kid is considered to go one and done, there's a backstory to it. There's something with their family, they're struggling in some sort of way, and they want to be able to help and take care of their family. But if you're going to do something like that, and I've long thought that colleges, if you're going to do that and that's going to be the rule, then while they're in school, while they're there with you, let's give these kids some college courses on teaching them life skills. What's going to happen to you after this happens, or if this doesn't work out for you, because then they're left with empty hands.
Don't
after
they usually do that anyway?
There are programs like that, and what I'll say to that is, it doesn't matter what classes you're taking. If they don't want to do it, they're not going to
Right.
do it.
Right.
And you think of the Ben Simmons guy that there was a show on Showtime where they followed him throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
he took his 4 classes his first semester. His second semester, he was registered. He never went to class because he didn't have to. We're only going to beat, and the day that LSU lost in the SEC playoffs, he withdrew from school. He used the system, and the system used him. The school used him to put some to win some games, which didn't happen because that program wasn't very good.
Right.
But
the drama behind him.
They used each other.
Yeah.
Now, in a perfect system, you'd use each other, and everybody would go get a job and go play pro ball and move on. But it's
a microwave world.
Yeah.
They want it now, like the fans.
That's exactly what it is. And
instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing that now, obviously at UD with basketball. They're seeing it a lot of places. Indiana's getting a taste of it with Squiggy. If they don't win right away, all hell breaks loose. The fans are so much different. There's no.
It is.
You said this to me the other day.
Involved, so you need to be.
You said this about a quarterback to me not long ago. Aaron Rodgers. He sat. A lot of guys sit.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Aaron Rodgers, Steve McNair,
Warren Moon, Steve Young.
Warren Moon, Steve Young. You learn, especially guys who come out early. You got to learn the craft. Instead, like the guy with the Browns, the kid with the Browns, Shazier or
Kaiser. Yep.
You got a kid who came out of college early, and he went into college young. He's only 21 years old. Physically and mentally, I don't think he's there. And what did they do? They put him into the big leagues behind a line that's horrible. And this poor guy's running around like a chicken with his head cut off because.
And he's going to get another coach before long, too.
Yeah. Now, if he spent. It doesn't mean you got to spend 4 years in college. But when you're looking at the money involved, am I going to stay around if they're going to give me all this money? Heck with it. I'll leave, get the money. If I actually really wanted to go back to school, I'll do it later.
But you can have it written in.
Who's going to matter?
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting with the round table. Adam Hammerman's with us, Tony Crusoe. Lee Mowen's over there on the board.
Hi, I'm here.
I got a question. You got topics, too.
I do have some topics.
You guys, and including you, Lee, the topics on your mind right now in sports, what's, beside obviously the college football, what's the other ones that are grabbing your attention the most?
I want to see where the Japanese guy goes.
Ohtani.
Do you really think the Reds got a shot at him like they're talking about?
No.
Although he did say, I read something where he said he wanted to go to a small market.
Seattle and the Giants, I guess, are...
Seattle because of the closeness.
Ichiro probably would hurt.
I think Japanese ownership in Seattle also.
Yes.
There's the Dodgers that are still in it, Cubs. There's like 6 teams.
Stanton is also on the table, especially for a Cardinal fan.
That's something that's been on my mind to see where Stanton goes to. I mean, we've already, like I said, we've moved Diaz, and I think it's a move. If they can get Stanton, I think it's more of to send a message to Matheny to say, hey, all right, we've given you a big name free agent. If this doesn't work, then this is probably his last stand. Absolutely.
I told Adam before you got here, Zach Kozar is going to be a Cardinal before it's over.
That wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, they just got rid of the shortstop of the future in St. Louis.
Yep.
So you sign Kozar for 2 years for a bridge? Why not? I'd like to see the Reds bring him back.
I wouldn't mind seeing him back. He's a good all-around guy, and I remember him when he was here with the Dragons.
And they don't have anybody else.
And he's a good fielder, and he's a decent stick. I mean, he had a really good offensive year this year, but in general, what's he do? He's good at hitting the ball the other way.
He does not a problem in the clubhouse either.
No.
And Joey Votto would love it because he could play with his donkey.
Solid professional.
Pin the tail on the donkey.
I forgot all about that donkey.
I just think Kozar would fit perfectly in St. Louis. Why the Reds don't want to try to get him back? Maybe they do. They have nothing coming up. Peraza is not your answer.
No.
You saw Sinzel when he was here, didn't you?
No.
I did.
Can he play shortstop?
He was at third base. I mean, if you want to put Suarez back at short, sure.
No.
I don't move him. Job learning
Yes.
third base.
I don't
His
move him.
footwork is 1,000 times better than it used to be.
Yeah.
He's 25. I'm not moving Suarez, period. Who goes in the outfield? Does my hero Billy Hamilton finally get dumped?
Whatever happened to Billy Hamilton to the Giants thing? Did that?
It's not dead yet. Maybe they're waiting to see what Stanton does.
I've liked Hamilton. I think he can do a lot of things.
Name
but he needs
two.
to get on base in order to do that.
Name two.
He's a hell of a defensive outfielder.
That's one,
Yes.
and he can run.
And he can run.
Got anything else?
No, you got to get on base for the rest
That's
of
the
it to matter.
problem.
And now that
Right.
it's 5 years later.
That's
Sorry,
the kicker
but-
right there. It's
You
been
can't-
5 years. That's not
But
a small sample.
Let me ask you this, since you've been around baseball forever. Is he a good example of how Major League Baseball is diluted? In that you have 30-something teams, and you got a guy who didn't spend, Maury Will spent 6 years in the minor leagues.
Are we making a case for contraction here in some sort of way?
That wouldn't be bad. I don't think that would be bad at all because the quality of play would go up. Quality of play in the big leagues is horrible.
I've always felt this way, and you're going to disagree, and that's fine. I think there's plenty of talent in baseball. It's not limited to the United States. Obviously, you can go to the moon and find players. It comes down to the scouts finding them. It comes down to the minor league coaches and managers and organizations teaching these kids and giving them the time to develop. I use you as a perfect example. If you were pitching now like you did back in the day,
That'd be pretty good at almost 60 years old.
you know what I'm talking about, though.
You could probably
You
still
know
put
and
it
I
in
know
there.
you had as good a stuff because you were told this by a Dodger scout, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You
It
had
was a long
as good a
time ago.
stuff as Mario Soto, if I remember the statement right.
Something
But you
like
had
that,
ahead of
I think.
John Belushi, so things didn't really work out well. But my point being, there are plenty of players available.
There's a ton of talent
I just
out
think
there.
There's a ton of talent.
Hamilton has got, he could run, he can field, no question. Outside of that, like you said, you can't run if you're not on base. And when is he running? Does it matter when he's stealing these bases? Most of the time, not. I think he's in the right situation with Cincinnati because they have no other center fielders. Would he be an everyday player? No. Not for me. No, he'll save runs as a pitcher, and that's where you're coming
Yeah.
from, the pitchers union.
Yeah.
I give you that. He'll save you runs. I just can't deal with a guy that doesn't get on base. And the fans just love this kid. He's a China doll. He's a dime a dozen. You know it, and I know it.
Yeah, and that's why I said before about there's a lot of people in the big leagues that don't belong there.
Oh, without question. But there are a lot of kids in the minor leagues that do belong.
And some don't get that chance.
A lot
Some
don't.
Just sit.
Well, and
Right
when-
there.
and
He's
when-
sitting right
and when
there.
Billy Hamilton was a first-round pick, second-round pick, and got a whole bunch of money given to him. He's going to get the opportunity other guys
Oh,
don't.
no doubt
that's
about
in
it.
Every system.
Unless you're Brandon Larson. Rule number one.
Well,
High
he
draft
wasn't-
choices
yeah.
hang around.
Yeah.
The way I've read it with Dick Williams, the GM, it sounded to me like they're trying to get rid of him. Williams wants on base percentage. He's not on base percentage. The Winkers,
he's
they've already
not.
said is going to play.
Yeah.
So you got Schebler, Duvall, and him.
Can Schebler play center field?
Well, he tried. I mean, he's obviously not going to go get the ball like Hamilton.
No, but he'll drive some runs in.
He's Adam Dunn playing center field.
Yeah. And if you can play some defense.
You have the
You'll be
choice.
all right.
Duvall, Schebler, Hamilton I'm just going to throw out because I don't want him anyway.
Well,
Who you get rid of?
Out of Duvall,
Duvall or Schebler?
probably Schebler because he doesn't have the resume Duvall has in his first 2 years.
but the one thing that I'll say about Duvall is if you've noticed him in the last 2 seasons after
Second
the
half of the
All-Star
year,
break,
yeah.
his
Diabetes,
production-
possibly?
I mean, his production falls off drastically.
Do you see
the second
him
half of
and
the
think
year.
Gold Glove? Duvall?
I
I mean, he's obviously been up for the finalists 2 years in a row.
Pretty damn close because he gets to a lot of stuff. He catches pretty much anything.
He
that's
throws
mine,
people out.
and he throws
Yeah.
a lot of people out.
But I look at him and say, Gold Glove? Really?
Well, yeah, but he's clanky when he does it.
Oh, he's clanky, but Hamilton's
Way he runs
not,
and
and
that.
he still can't win one.
Well, that's true.
That's probably offensive related.
I would think there's something involved with that, even though it's not supposed to be.
Well, I'd like to know if Tucker Barnhart has called Mark and thanked him for that Gold Glove that he
That
won.
first pitch throw out. People seem to There's a video that'll last forever. I think my arm's still somewhere between the mound and the plate. I just remember telling him, Tucker, if you let this throw go and hit hitch, I'll be a happy man. That was a great pitch. He just made a good play on it.
That was poor.
It was real poor.
I have to see the video of it.
It's on YouTube,
yeah.
I think.
It's on the World Wide Web.
I caught it by complete surprise. I just thought to myself, I wonder if there's any, maybe some video of the show somewhere on YouTube or something like that. So I just dropped in Mark's name and the
Google
very
up
first
Mark
name.
Schlemmer, it'll show up.
There's a lot
the very
of
first
stuff
thing
will
that
show
came
up.
is him
Google machines
throwing
all
a
over
first
you.
pitch to Tucker Barnhart.
Could you imagine our show being on TV like Patrick's? Oh, no. No. People wouldn't believe this. No.
Well, then you'd have to see 12-Pack come up there and try to talk.
No. He's still around, I guess. I think he's Miamisburg. I think somebody said. I think Comrade sees him all the time.
You were, and I'm not blowing smoke up you, but you were a large help to him.
I know where you're going with this.
I mean, you know the story about him. He had some problems in his life, and
12-pack is
because-
self-explanatory.
Right.
The night on the show, he said, I said, maybe you did it. You said, you're the kind of guy that takes a 6-pack to the store to get a 12-pack. And he goes, no, actually, I only carry 3.
Yeah.
And he was dead serious.
But I can remember you talking to him about that, and he would say, it had been this. How
What's
long
the
it
best?
been
Iced
drink.
tea.
Iced tea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you were kind of Jimmy Swaggart or somebody on one of them guys with him.
Definitely wasn't Jerry Falwell. But there again, what the effect that show had on so many people.
Yeah.
It's just, I'd go through stores and, people would look at you funny. And at first you're kind of like, all right, what's this? And then you realize they're one of us.
Yeah.
They were our people. But yeah, God, 12-pack. What a piece of work. What's on your sports plate now?
I think it's kind of interesting to see, recently to me, the AFC had been a better conference than the NFC, and I just don't know where the power shift happened. To me, overall, the NFC looks to be a much tougher conference to make it out of.
NFC was always defense to me. AFC is like the old AFL. Fire and fall back. The AFC West right now is like a big toilet.
3 teams at 6-6.
Chargers are coming out of there, I'm afraid.
That wouldn't be bad. Even if they only put 20,000 in the kickball stadium they play in.
Right.
But,
Yeah,
I think that'd
it
be
holds
pretty
like
good.
We need them to
30,000,
lose.
I think, something
Why?
like that. Right.
The rest of the West, okay, give one team, but the rest of them, get them away. Because if the Bengals got any shot at all,
No,
all those
I
6,
think that won't happen.
I'm telling you, they're going to lose one more game. That's it. Could be tonight, but I don't think so.
Oh, they'll lose tonight.
No.
It's
I
a
can see
Monday.
And it's
the
on bright
Steelers.
lights.
And, yeah, right.
By tomorrow morning, every kid in Cincinnati will have orange hair like Andy Dalton.
I just don't see it.
Put the glue away. You shouldn't be sniffing that model glue.
I know.
Tony, check that drink.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Check that.
It's on Monday night, which obviously they don't do well. The bright lights are on, which obviously they don't do well. But I think I'd rather have this game on Monday night at home, knowing what they have to do. Antonio Brown may play, may not. Not that that's going to matter.
How many stupid penalties are you going to get out of your defensive
Did you see the
backfield
stat on
and/or
that?
Your linebacker.
Since 2007 or 9, in a Bengal-Steeler game, only one game has been played where there hasn't been a taunting, unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer, or a fight.
Didn't you post something today about Burfict saying that Antonio Brown's injury in the playoff game a couple years it was fake?
They thought that a long time ago. Oh, Pac-Man's the one that started that. I just got a feeling they know they have to have this one.
They're not
Pittsburgh.
that organization's not disciplined enough to be able to pull
Oh,
it
there's
off.
no doubt about that. And Tomlin punks Marvy every time. Over there glad handing him, doing the Soul Train lineup and all that nonsense, and he punks him every time.
And punks him to the point to where when he was asked about the Bengals game, he's like, well, we're looking forward to New England.
Yeah,
They
just
got to get
another
Ben
group.
on the ground. You got to get him on the ground and stop Le'Veon Bell. Now that doesn't mean Juju Schuster and the other wide receiver Bryant doesn't go off on him, but the tight end might be good to cover once because they always seem to forget about Jesse James and the other tight ends. I just got a feeling they're going to win.
Tonight, so don't put any bad juju on Juju. He's in my fantasy.
I'm
league.
telling you.
So don't do that.
They're gonna beat them. Now they may lose in Minnesota when they go up there in 2 weeks. But if they can win tonight, you got the Bears coming in next.
Bears
That
aren't
should
very
be a
good.
win.
Nope, that should be 7-6 if they can, and then you got Minnesota, Detroit, and finish with the Ravens. It's possible.
Now-
But the problem with all this is if it happens, Marvy's going to get another extension. And then what?
Wow.
I mean, think about it. You want him to win, and
They're not-
Another first round exit. Oh boy. Can't
maybe
wait.
not.
Nah.
No.
How many
No.
times will Blodine get run over tonight?
Yeah, a lot.
A whole lot. He should
And
be
how
at
many
Walmart.
times will the Bengals defensive line be able to get to Ben? Not a lot.
Michael Johnson, I see he's got a back problem,
Carl
but
Lawson's
he's
been
had
a
that.
nice surprise for the Bengals this year.
They haven't tried to make him a stand-up linebacker like they did with Wilson a couple years ago.
Right.
I mean, Lawson has got one basic spin move, but he's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fat guy's in the middle. Sims, I didn't understand cutting him and bringing him back. That was a little bit peculiar.
It had to do something with money. It had to be.
That or an injury. Now,
Yeah.
Billings has started to play better, but the key's going to be getting Ben on the ground and
You don't have
stopping
any
Le'Veon
linebackers
Bell.
that are healthy either, do you?
Well, you got Vinny Ray's out, Vigil, who all of a sudden looks like he's running in cement.
Vinny Ray's been
He's a special
nice,
teams guy.
He's been a nice addition.
He's
there.
like Pierman when he's healthy.
Yes.
Now, I want to see the Evans kid play, the kid from Oklahoma, number 50. He's a good, he can run. Well, he's got to play now. But I don't know who their other backups, Hardy Har Nickerson.
Who I really had a hard time even remembering that he was in the league. When you said Hardy Nickerson, I said,
That's his kid.
oh, okay. I was gonna,
No, that's his kid from Illinois. He led it like the Big Ten in tackles.
Really?
They've cut him up and down like 3 times this year, but backups, that's about all they got. Vigil's out, but I think they beat him.
I don't know.
It'd be nice, but I don't.
It'd
see
be
it.
real nice.
I am wearing
I
a
don't
Bengals
see it
shirt
happening.
right now, and I don't see it. I just don't.
Confident fans, man.
Well, it's not that. It's, you know, in years past when this team was, when they had a winning record and things of that nature, there was an edge to this team. There was an identity to this
yeah,
team.
it's called Perfect and Pac-Man Jones.
Well, but you don't have that. You don't have that anymore. I still feel like I think they're starting to figure out with Joe Mixon that he can be, you know, that kind of a back that can carry the workload for you and things like that. I just don't feel like that there's any killer instinct there, and I think that's Andy
he
Dalton.
could be Jim Brown.
Nixon's doing it
But
with no line in front.
You
of
got
him.
Right.
Blodine, Bowling Ball, Ooga Boogie, and Trey Hopkins, who has been cut like 73 times. Where's the 2 kids on the practice? Westerman they drafted, Alex Redmond they drafted. Are they that much worse that they had to bring Winston back?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when
Off
your
the
line
couch,
stinks,
Yeah. He didn't
What
come
are you
back
waiting
from
on to
somewhere
find
else.
out?
He came off the couch.
Bengals have a practice team, right, with young players. That
yeah, the
can
practice
call
squad
up.
like all of them. But they drafted these kids 3 years ago, and they're not even seeing the light of day.
No, and the offensive line's been the big problem.
Dalton
And,
has
like,
his issues.
And
Yeah.
don't you think Whitworth's happy he got out of town?
Yeah,
He's happier they're in first place.
Yeah.
yeah.
He could have gone anywhere as long as there was Zeitler. He's probably thrilled they're 0-12, but every
He's
time he
getting
goes
$1
the
billion.
ATM card,
Yeah.
oh, that 0-12 doesn't look so bad now.
That I've been thinking too. Honestly, am I the only person sitting at this table that think that the Browns are only about a legit quarterback away from being a competitive team?
5
Who's
offensive
he gonna
linemen,
who's he going to throw it to?
a running back.
But that's where all their money's at, in the offensive line.
Well,
Now, Thomas is hurt.
If
They've
and
had
it's
one
always the
offensive
if.
lineman in 15 years.
I mean, they got all these defensive guys, but yet
They're still losing.
they're still losing. Now, granted,
Right.
they're on the field a hell of a lot because the offense, like Tony said, Kaiser should be holding a clipboard for 2 years.
Well, and that kind of leads me to where I was talking about. If and it's always an if, and I'm sure I'll get a chuckle out of this. If Josh Gordon can stay, because I believe that if he can stay on a straight and narrow path, to me, he's a top 5 or 10 receiver
No doubt.
in the NFL.
When he's
Yeah.
been healthy and off or on the field. Now, somebody sent me a great question the other day. He admits to selling drugs when he's in college.
Really?
What? Oh, God, it was all over the
Yeah.
internet. He
went
came
to-
out and said
didn't he go to Baylor?
he made like
10K,
what was it, 10K
per
a
cell
day.
or something
Really?
like that?
Yeah.
In college?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He documented this.
Wow.
And then somebody goes, why is he not in jail?
Yeah.
How's he in the league when he's admitted he sold drugs for 10K a day in college?
The IRS
Oh,
will
it
come after him
was
soon.
all over the stuff he did.
But if they have,
If he's healthy, oh, he's for real.
because I believe that they have some pieces on offense. I like Crowell.
Crowell and Duke Johnson are very good.
Johnson. If Josh Gordon can stay where he's at, and if they can, and they get Joe Thomas back next year,
I'm not sure he's going to come
defensively, back. I have not seen them get horribly boat raced against
on the field
Bengals,
a lot.
Yeah.
But if they were, there's going to be plenty. I believe there's going to be plenty of free agent quarterbacks out of there. You're going to have Alex Smith. You're
Cousins,
going to have
McCarron.
Cousins, McCarron.
How many draft picks have the Browns got in the first
two?
three rounds?
The top 10
also?
right
But
now.
if you take
Again,
a guy-
3 rounds, they got 10 picks.
If you take a guy like Alex Smith or Eli, something along those lines, and use them honestly, like you said, Kaiser needs to be holding a clipboard. Use somebody as a good, go out and pay money for a good starting quarterback. Pay some money for him. Let him be a bridge and let him learn. I know that I can't be the only one that thinks that they could be, with a legit quarterback behind them, still they could be a 6 to 7 to 8 win team.
You see Peyton Manning going up there, Tony? I mean, there's been rumors.
That's what you've heard a lot of stuff.
Well,
about
he and
him
Haslam
going
are
up there.
buddy-buddy.
Yeah, and being part owner and that.
Would that tarnish his legacy if he goes out? I think he could help him.
But if something like that happens, you're starting all over again.
They're going to
you're
anyway.
cleaning house from the trainer to the equipment guy to the
gonna
guy
do
that
it
sweeps
anyway.
the locker room all the way to the head.
Don't forget the field stitcher. Oh, wait, that was Indy.
I think the only way Manning goes, the only way Manning will go is if he gets part ownership.
Yeah.
And do you think if Manning goes to Cleveland that he could talk Eli
Oh, there's no doubt.
into coming with
Unless
him?
he goes to Jacksonville with Tom Coughlin.
I could
That's-
see that
yep.
happening first because Jacksonville's got an offensive line. As Eli's been getting the
Beat
hell
up.
beat out of him all this year, why would he want to
Here's
go
your
up
other
there
problem
when he's
with
old and
that.
get beat up again?
Haslam's still in hot water for the Flying J fraud case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They
his-
said that
his
the other day.
personal
That
problems.
could still take him
Yeah.
down. So how deep does this go?
And his brother's the governor of Tennessee. I didn't know
Funny
that
how
till I
that
saw
happens.
that the other day.
Don't worry. Kane is on his heels as a
Speak-
politician.
Speaking of Tennessee,
Oh, my God.
how about the
you know
volunteers
John
there?
Gruden well.
Yeah, I
from
knew
your
John
days.
was here, yeah.
Do you think he's ever coming back to coaching? I don't.
No, I'd be surprised.
If he's got a sweet gig in broadcasting, like
I don't
you
think that's
do,
got anything to do with it.
He
I don't think
couldn't-
he wants to tarnish that legacy.
Well, that and you can go sit on the beach and do Corona ads.
Very true. Or go to Hooters and eat wings and do them.
I don't think.
He throws rumors out there all the time about it
Well,
for himself.
he never says anything. Somebody else says something. You've never heard his voice say. It's always
Isn't it like
some talking head
Yeah.
says something.
it's like the faux account? Like it's not even ran by him.
I don't
It's
see
just
him
like-
doing it.
No, I don't either.
I can't. In college, what about Herm Edwards? What the hell's he thinking? That tells me ESPN's ship is going down quick, and he was going to be part of it.
You know, the Herm Edwards thing. He just wants to go back.
His buddy's the AD.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, they
I'm
were
just
buddy
thinking, you know,
buddy.
how many times I just saw something on the machine the other day. The guy that was the coach at Kentucky years ago, Lee Smith, is coaching Kentucky State now.
Tubby Smith?
No, football. Lee Smith, Lee something.
Mommy? Not how Mommy.
No, it's Lee J. Smith, or maybe the guy was he at Louisville, maybe? But this guy's an old guy, been
Yeah,
around for
You're
years.
talking about Larry
Larry
it
Smith?
is Smith, yeah.
He's at Kentucky
Louisville.
State.
Once a coach, always
Once
a coach.
he just, yeah.
Except for your Les Miles, and then nobody wants you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Nobody knows yet.
Yeah.
Your boy Brian Price, speaking of leadership, is he coming back, or how long, I should say, will he last?
Wow.
Who's got the better gig? Hugh Jackson at 1 in 5,000, or Brian Price 4 straight losing last place seasons?
Brian Price, because
Absolutely.
For
because
Marvin Lewis, toss him in
the
there.
travel's all first class when you got to go.
And he's been rewarded for his futility. He's been
No,
rewarded
I will.
for it.
I will say this, and I've been lucky enough this past football season that Hal McCoy traveled with us and covered the UD football
That had to be fun.
very, very much. Friday evening, sitting there at dinner, having a beer, and just BSing with him. He thinks, and he said that Brian Price isn't as bad as his record, which, you know, if you gave him, maybe he would manage differently if he had better players. Now, Hal likes Brian Price, admittedly.
He liked Dusty Doubleday, too, though.
And I'll go back to, and you know this from being a coach and being a manager, when your legacy or your life or your paycheck every 2 weeks is determined by the outcome of others.
17-year-old, 18-year-old kids especially.
That makes it really hard.
But I will make you the argument with Brian Price. Barnhart, Votto, Jeanette had a career year. Cozart had a career year. Suarez had a career year. The outfield, including China Doll, Hamilton, they set records for offense. He's a pitching coach. Why aren't they better?
Well,
4 years is a nice sample.
Why does a big offensive coordinator say Charlie Weiss, who's an NFL offensive coordinator?
Because he cheated his ass off. That's why.
Why can't he? Why does he win in college?
Well, it's like Joe Torre, and you know Torre was pathetic with the Mets, and they ain't anybody else.
Ball players,
he gets to New York, and all of a sudden he's Casey Stengel. Yeah. To me, Brian Price has had 4 years to prove something, and he hasn't.
I'm not disagreeing.
He might be a great guy.
I remember when he took over for Dick Pohl as the pitching coach. Probably said the same things and taught the same things and used some different words.
Different
and
voice.
Guys bit onto it, and that pitching staff was pretty good.
Or it could be that they saw a new pitching coach, and the next guys out of here would be themselves.
That's true.
I think his message has fallen on deaf ears. Some of his in-game movements are very questionable.
His X's and O's, I think, have been questionable. I will agree.
Questionable.
But sometimes, what are you going to do when that's what you're given?
Well, I grant you, when you've got Hamilton, you can't hide him anywhere in the order, and they've tried ninth.
And you start 35 different pitchers in a year.
That's a problem.
That goes back to administration and the program that you need to go back below. And you've heard me talk about this when I worked at the Dragons for a while. That one of the things some of the people down there would say is the Reds organization is scout driven, and saying that, you know, they draft them, scouts want them, they draft them, and they tell us to make a player out of them. Well, draft some ball players that we can work on to move up.
Well, you saw Garrett. He was having success, and all of a sudden he's back in AAA. They did it to Stevenson, and Stevenson even made a comment that shot my confidence.
Yes, I read that. Those
are very questionable. If the Braves prove you're going to get beat on, let these kids learn up here.
If you're going to,
Price is your pitching coach, manager. Well, don't you want him right here in front of you?
Well, I think that's one of the things I think the organization did that was good was bringing Ted Power up, having him out in the bullpen because he was.
People don't realize that is more of a job than just saying, "Okay, get up, warm up, you're going in." There's a lot more to being a bullpen coach, which we didn't have those when we played. Neither do we have a bench coach either.
Yeah,
but it's more important than they think. The one thing I've always questioned, and you were around the Dragons enough to see this, and Tom Browning is kind of where I'm going with this. His philosophy of pitching is different than, say, a Power, a Price.
Yeah.
How much difference or how difficult is it for these kids? You got so many cooks in this kitchen.
But organizationally, and I know where you're going with that, organizationally, and I'll bring up the Dodgers. You think of what the Dodgers did for all those years. All their pitchers came up. Mechanics were similar. Pitching styles were similar. What you threw in certain counts were similar. But also you had guys that played 6-7 years in the minor leagues. They had 1,000 innings under their belt of pitching before they got – and Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, some of the guys it's an aberration. But even Koufax was 5 years in the big leagues before he could do anything right. Organizationally, when you have a lot of changes in the minor leagues because of changes in the front office – they're not being taught the same thing.
Philosophies change.
Yeah.
Everybody changes
think
a wheel.
Think of the Braves. When Maddox and Glavine and all those guys were there, and Leo Mazzoni was the pitching coach. He learned from Johnny Sain, who was there for all those years. And their theories that they used with throwing every day and doing things mechanically a lot of the same way, and how they were taught started when the guys in rookie ball from day one, and those guys worked their way up and through.
You mentioned mechanics, and this is something that I know what it means, and I'm going to use quarterbacks, hitters, pitchers. If there's perfect mechanics, why doesn't everybody throw the same way? You look at a quarterback, and they say he's too small, he's too short, he doesn't throw over the top. Phillip Rivers throws 3/4 to sidearm.
Yeah, he throws sidearm.
Flutie was 5'0", and Bernie Kosar threw like Kenta Colby.
Sometimes,
Brett Favre. Yeah, he was over the top, but then again, he wasn't.
But those are
special players.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But Flutie
odd
wasn't.
cases.
I'm just saying, if everybody hit the same, Pete Rose didn't hit the same way.
No. But everybody.
When the swing gets there, it's pretty similar.
Think of golf guys. Jim Furyk, you wouldn't want to try to replicate his swing. But when you get, whether it's a hitter, baseball and golf, when you look at where their hands are at in the hitting zone, they're all the same.
But where you start, everybody goes, no, you got to. No, you don't.
Louis Tion had all the swinging all around,
Yep.
but when he got his front leg back up over his back leg on the rubber and was ready to go down the hill, everything was right
Kershaw's the most recent guy. People are going, how do you do that?
there. Yeah, but if you stopped him when he got to his power position with his lead leg up over the rubber,
He's loaded up, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby Tolan, all this stuff.
Corey Yastrzemski in the day.
But when the ball was there and their hands were ready to go, they're down, and in that 8 to 12 inch part of the swing, they're right there.
How many guys do you see now in baseball that have the Sadaharo leg kick?
Yeah,
back in the day,
no.
Yeah. You don't even think about that.
They talk. The big buzzword this year was
butthurt. Well, that's the newest word.
When you learned how to use that word.
Launch angles were.
I like that one.
Now, when I was a kid,
backspin off the bat. There's another
launch
one.
Angle meant what they talk about launch angle now. That was
an uppercut. Yep.
So where did you throw an uppercut? You threw it above their hands. John Schmaltz was wetting his pants about that this year in the World Series. He said launch angle, and he's going to pitch him up. Well, yeah, because you can't get to it.
You can't get to it.
So why would you throw him, as Tony Perez would say? I won't say that, but right down the middle, and have him be able to hitch and go. But then I'll go back to saying that the quality of the pitching, the quality in the big leagues isn't as good as it used to be because of expansion and everything. So you got guys pitching who should be in Double A and aren't good enough to do it.
Is it also not letting them pitch inside got a lot to do with that?
Oh, there's a lot of that. But, the big leagues you can't pitch inside, true. But they're not taught to pitch inside from the age of 10 up because you're using an aluminum bat and you can't pitch inside. The out pitch is outside. The out pitch is a slider or something away or something off speed. Because you can jam a guy with a metal bat all the way through college and he can still fist it and get halfway decent metal on it and put it in play.
Or if you hit him, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. But the metal bat has changed that. So now guys feel safe, and you're not allowed to throw inside anyway. So the guy feels safe. So you buzz him a little bit. And if you watch TV, they show guys half a step leading in, and the pitch is inside, but it's almost a strike. And
some of them are strikes.
They're jumping up and down because it was near me.
Lee, you haven't given us your sport topic yet. What do you got?
College hoops around here is pretty big. Anyone see the crosstown shootout?
How about your boy Mick Corona getting escorted off the court?
Oof.
Outstanding effort.
I had his dad for high school. When I was in high school, his dad was one of my teachers.
Somebody asked me yesterday, or after that game, how is he still in Cincinnati? I think he's done a pretty good job all in all. I think the biggest problem, they won't let him get out from under Huggins' shadow.
I did mention that to you the other day. I mean, why it seems like, and how many years ago has it been since Huggins has been gone?
10?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It still seems like that there is still a hangover from Bob Huggins. Is it because they haven't
Ralph Underhill at Wright State, same thing.
Is it because they haven't had that level of success since Huggins? Or
Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler.
I'd give you Don Donaher until Squiggy took him to 4 straight.
Yeah.
Although the age has kind of changed a little bit
Yeah.
fan-wise, but I think that Huggins thing is just hanging over him. Now, I'm not saying Cronin's
I don't think one of the
great.
reasons I think Cronin is still there is that's where he went to school. It's where he grew up. He grew up in Cincinnati, went to Oak Hills High School,
and he has had success.
and his family's there, and he's been successful. That's something. Years ago, I think he said, I wanted to coach this place where I went to school.
It's turned into quite a rivalry.
Yeah, the XUC thing's been a rivalry for years.
Well, back in the Tony H days when
somebody was always bad back then.
They were
One
real
team
bad.
Was bad, and X wasn't very good, and UC was good. And
how long is a rivalry before it's not a rivalry? And I'm aiming at Michigan, pretty much football. How many
With
times
Ohio
do you
State?
get smoked
Easy.
before it's not a rivalry anymore?
Well, as soon as you win one, it's back.
It's
on.
back on.
Yeah.
But what are they running? 13 out of 14?
Yeah, I believe I heard something like that the other day. Like one in the last 12 years. I think that was the Luke Fickle.
I was
year,
gonna say that was the
wasn't it?
Fickle year.
One thing that brings that back, saying when you're saying maybe it's not a rivalry. Harbaugh comes back, it becomes a rivalry because he's a
And it
Michigan
still
guy.
is.
He takes it
Oh,
personally.
it still is,
for sure.
but
Yes, but he comes back and he brings that with him. Something that
there's
might have been missing.
there's another question I got for you, and since you're the Michigan guy, I'll throw it at you too. Harbaugh coming back?
Yes.
Let me
No,
put it this way. I know
I-
a guy that's got $500 in Vegas on a bet that says he's coming back and not going to the NFL.
Yeah, he'll stay.
I like Michigan. I always have, but I can't stand them right now because Harbaugh's there, and you know.
The Colts, Bears
Why?
come open. Is that
Well, Harbaugh reminds me of a young Buck Showalter. Everywhere he went.
a style master?
Well, think of this. Everywhere he goes for the first. Now Showalter's been at
Well, he's
the
old
Orioles
now.
a long time, but everywhere he went after 4 years, people got pissed
John
at him.
Gruden.
Move on.
That
Somebody
grinding 3 or 4 year span.
Mhm.
Showalter
Okay, he's in
everywhere.
his 4th year.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and when he
Yes,
showed up
fourth
up
year.
there, when he showed up in Michigan, he didn't care about who was there. There's a lot of this guy's gone, that guy's gone, administration, workers, whatever. I
Oh
want
my
him
God!
gone.
Was you got 2 guys making $1 million as assistants?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Coming or going?
I don't really care. Personally, I'd like to see him lose 100 games in a row. I just can't stand him.
I think
And it goes back to our problem.
You faced him in
Yeah,
San Diego.
yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right.
UD did face him
Yeah.
when he was out there.
And when he had, when all of a sudden, the second week of preseason camp in August, you get a 5th-year senior transfer from University of Utah, I think, or no, excuse me, it was BYU, to come for 1 semester to be a 5th-year senior quarterback. When all of a sudden you have some offensive lineman that come from Washington State, I think it was, to a school that cost $60,000 to go to school, and these guys go from scholarship programs to paying to go play. Excuse me. And then
Not the
when
least
you're
bit shaky.
then when you're up 40-something to 7 in the 4th quarter and you go for 2,
Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
and he did that to everybody, and he tried to do it when he left there and went to Stanford.
Well, I think
Yeah.
if he goes anywhere, if they do show him the hook, then you can crank up the Les Miles talk again.
I agree with that. Why?
Maybe that's what Les Miles
That's where
is
Les
waiting
Miles
on.
went.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's
Do
waiting.
you think
on.
they'd give him the hook this soon?
I don't think so yet.
I don't think he'd get the hook.
That's a hell of a payout if they do.
Well, I think the calamity at quarterback this year that they had at quarterback this year. Like I said,
McCaffrey coming in and Peters, they look like they're going to be okay.
well, yeah, now, but like I said, because me being a Michigan fan, and like I said, if Ohio State fans can be objective, and they can, and I said something to you about it, I really feel like that Michigan in the game 2 weeks ago was 1 competent quarterback away.
there were 2
yeah,
passes in the
winning
first quarter
that
away.
game. I watched O'Korn miss so many open receivers.
First quarter.
I've never seen a guy who has no sense of a pocket collapsing around him. He held the ball for entirely too long, and I don't know how many times this year I screamed at my TV, "What are you doing? Please, just get rid of the ball." So
Eventually,
I don't
they're
think he
gonna
leaves.
No, I don't think so either.
Not
but
this year.
eventually,
I
year,
don't
I
think
don't.
so either. I really don't.
eventually they're going to make technology where you scream at your TVs and then the players hear it.
Yeah.
Get these voices out of my head.
What?
That
But-
would be interesting.
What if Peters played that the game?
He was hurt.
But what if he wasn't? What if he played that game?
If he'd have played, I think it's a different game, personally.
I think so too.
I feel the same way myself, and just watching him before and watching them, in the couple of games that they had with Peters, their passing attack, while it wasn't great, it was still better. And I think that's part of the reason that Ohio State doesn't get in this year. Again, I talked about the Clemson thing, and I know Tony said that was last year, whatever the case is. I just didn't think that I don't think that the committee wanted to see that or hear things like that, because I think the blueprint for how you beat the Buckeyes is out there, because it seems like at times you saw it in Iowa, You saw it in Oklahoma.
Throw to the corners.
Yeah. Well, if you will come out and you will punch them in the mouth right away, and you put up a couple quick scores on them, and it seems like to me at times when Urban is caught off guard like that, he almost looks like a deer in the headlights. Like what's
Like
happened?
Marvin Lewis?
Yeah. What's happened here? How did this happen this quickly? And why are their special teams so bad?
He runs a special team, if I remember right. That's his.
I'm not sure.
I think that's his thing. How much time are we running on this thing? You got to be running long.
Hour and a half. We can go 3 hours if you want. I don't know if it'll.
Hell no.
I got to go to work.
I was going to say, he's got to go back to work.
I'm on lunch hour.
We're at an hour and a half, so if anyone's got to leave,
We can always do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
What other topics you want to delve into? You haven't hit wrestling lately. Those are always great shows.
I mean,
Wrestling
People
shows.
love wrestling. That are
If
the old
you-
ballparks of town.
Yeah.
I always got
Yeah.
leery about that because a lot of people didn't.
Didn't know
Play or
but they-
didn't know
but
'em.
They enjoyed hearing.
They
about
sure
other
did
guys
enjoy
talking
it.
about because they knew somebody else that was in the neighborhood and that type of stuff.
all right. I'll throw say if we're going to talk about wrestling.
Wrestling.
Here's
Wrestling's
the-
a phony stuff.
Okay, fine.
That's the stuff in the
Do-
Olympics.
Does anybody at this table consider wrestlers to be athletes?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You got to train.
Tony and
was
I
gonna
got
say,
a front row seat for this.
I watched them practice when they were at the UD Arena back in the late 80s.
I've told this story before.
I've heard this story
And
about
now
you
that
guys. Is this
you're
about you guys
here-
hitting the ropes and
It's
They
you
come
should
into
watch
the arena.
It is. They work hard at it.
Dumbbell
They do.
here. We're in the arena when the guy's setting the ring up. And
Well,
of
I
course,
wanna-
that's like two kids in a candy
Get
store
me a
with
football.
masks
Is
on.
that the one where a guy wanted a football? And I threw him a football down?
We're there, and I don't know, one of us, hey, can we go up here and get in the ring and run around? Now, the arena's empty.
Yeah, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. There's nobody there.
Yeah, go ahead. So the race is on to get in the ring. I just remember Flair standing in the runway laughing as we hit the ring ropes and just about collapsed.
It's
It's choreographed. Do you remember I think it was the Samoans. We're standing under where the weight room used to be, under the arena, throwing the barbell
yeah,
back and forth.
Them and Sid Vicious, they got 245 pounds on a bench,
right.
and they're catching it, benching it, letting it go, catching it.
Like I said, I've been a wrestling fan my whole life. I'm sorry, a wrestling
That's
fan
better.
my
People are
whole
going to be
life.
confused.
Only by you. But I've been a wrestling fan my whole life, and I've always long felt that professional wrestlers are some of the better athletes that you will ever see in your
Well,
life.
there's some guys with some size to them that can do things that.
The one thing that I
really
remember,
surprising.
beside the ring ropes hurting like crazy and the ring being so thin, was the length of the top rope to the floor. And thinking, how in the hell did these guys flip
It's
over?
got to be a solid 9 to 10
Every
feet.
bit.
Yeah,
it has
that's.
to be.
How do they
The
do
floor-
it?
The floor was 4 foot up.
It had a mat on it. I remember that.
It was what they did at the arena. They come in and they would set the ring post, and then I don't know what they're called. The
Turnbuckles.
Well, yeah, but underneath they would tighten the wiring to set the ring.
Right.
And then it was planks and 1 inch
It was like
plywood.
nothing.
Right.
And then it was a 1 inch mat that was rolled, not as hard as a wrestling or gymnastics mat. It's a little
Right.
softer. And then it was the canvas over top.
I just
of
remember
it.
jumping
And it-
off
yeah,
the
it
middle
was hard.
turnbuckle.
Was the ring mic'd when you guys back in the, was
It
the
was
ring mic'd
underneath.
It was underneath.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I've
when
always
you,
heard
when
that
you
as well.
bounced, when they ran up and jumped up and down. It
Right.
was also had springs under it. Some
Right.
of them had springs.
You
And-
knew when you were jumping, though, because
Yeah.
when you landed, it was like you landed on the floor. You felt like your knees went right up your feet. But athletes, it can be choreographed. It can be fake, without question. And you saw, was it
when they-
Cactus Jack that had the ankle the size of a basketball?
yeah.
Those guys are getting
Taping
beat up
them
every
and
night.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely athletic. No
Yeah,
question.
They come in and they'd practice, and they all come in together.
Mhm.
So they come down the ramp and go in the locker rooms. We sitting there talking and this and that. The Road Warriors. I was lucky enough to meet some guys from the University of Minnesota the year before, and they were in business with the Road Warriors on those old crazy Zubaz pants.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to the Road Warriors and told them I knew Matty up at Wisconsin, and then Hawk gives me his card and said, "Call me. We'll get you some pants." I sold pants out of the trunk of my car.
I remember them giving a haircut, and you asked him.
Yeah.
He said, "I got to go to a PTA meeting tomorrow."
Yeah. And I said something about it. He goes, "Well, I got a PTA meeting tomorrow. I can't do it right now." Normal guys. That was their job. As soon as they got to the curtain, though, it was work.
Do you still have Ric Flair soap?
No.
He was the one I remember more than anybody. Was as friendly as could be.
But when he got to the
when
curtain,
he put that robe on, boom. Remember after the match, Sting, and it was Stinger Luger, and Flair's yelling at him, "You never break a stronghold. You broke my stronghold." Yeah. But there was 4 separate locker rooms for like the rummies.
Yeah, the guys.
It just kind of stair-stepped. The one at the end was the superstars. Yeah. I just remember the one sink had Sting's face in it.
Yeah. Well, the Bushwhackers.
Oh, my God. Hold on, mate. Let me get my teeth out.
To get a picture taken with him. The guy goes, "Hold on, let me get my teeth out."
Lee, did you happen to catch the 30 for 30 they did on Ric Flair?
No, it's one that I'd like to see.
It was interesting.
It was really good. I mean, me being an avid wrestling fan, it really didn't reveal that much more about him than I had already figured, but I thought that it was really well done. I've seen, here recently that wrestling is starting to work its way and kind of weave its way into mainstream sports more.
But it's him. Nice. It's Flair that's being that thread, so to speak. Everywhere since he got out of the hospital, he's everywhere.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's the main. I thought that was well done.
He's a good follow on Facebook.
It was well done.
Yeah, Ric
he's
Flair's
on our
a good
page.
follow on Facebook.
Flair's on the page.
Ric Flair's on the page? Wow,
I thought it was
he's
well
a good
done.
Follow on Facebook.
It left me with a sad feeling.
The business side of things.
And a bad family side of it, too.
But that caused by the business side of it.
It just kind of left you with, wow, that's really sad at the end.
I came away from that is that Rick, it came out that he was adopted. Yeah, that he was adopted, and like I said, and the path that he took as far as professionally, his parents never supported him in that. At least I didn't believe so. And I think from that, it just kind of fed into him being, in all honesty, the selfish jerk that he was to his family and his wife and his kids and things of that nature. Because, it was like a tale of two stories. If you look at his his older children, they didn't, and I know it came across that they didn't really want a lot to do with him, even though he gave David a door, into the business.
That sounds a lot like if you ever read anything or heard a story about Lee Trevino. You think of guys, professionals like that, who, in order to get as good as they are out on the road all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Lee Trevino is said that he's always regretted how his first family was treated, his older kids. He treats his younger kids, who aren't young now,
Mm-hmm.
he was around more, and he made sure he was there, not out on the road 35 weeks out of the year, trying to make a living, trying to be the best that he could in golf. Think of guys that with baseball over the years. You're gone 175, 200 days out of the year.
What do those guys tell us? They're on the road like 250 days a year.
Yeah, the wrestling guys.
Yeah.
But Tony's right. For the most part, all of them were good guys, very talkative, very personable.
Yeah.
But what a lifestyle.
Yeah, you're playing one night here, and they're off, and in Peoria the next night, and then in Minneapolis, and then in Fort Worth or something. They're on the road 6 out of 7 days.
Flair was as good as any of them to he and I.
Yeah, just
very,
a really
very nice guy. But the pictures, I mean, those are memories, man. Those are great. Getting to know those guys a little bit behind the curtain and seeing how they do it. It's a crazy lifestyle, but athletically, without question.
Yeah,
I would dare anybody to get in a ring and just run around. Let's see how tough you are then.
Mm-hmm.
The Samoans, who weren't from Samoa.
I remember the guy had the bullet hole in his belly.
One played at Kansas, the other played at Hawaii. They were talking about that, and we're really big and all that, but look what we do. Like, yeah, no
Right.
kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, you're light on your feet. You can move. You have strength. And to be able to do that in that situation, you're correct with talking about the ropes and everything. It's not what it looks like on TV.
I just remember to this day, after Flair showed us how to do his flop, and I always remember him saying, watch how they hit the ropes. If you hit your ropes like you just did, you're going to break your ribs.
Yeah.
Which I think I did. But he said, you put your butt on the middle rope. That's how they bounce off. And now now that you really know.
Well, and when they land, so the guy gets thrown on, what's he do? His feet hit first.
Yep.
Right.
And then everything else comes down.
Mm-hmm.
But you used to be able to hear them in the ring talking to each other.
Oh,
and now you knew it, but now you know it. You're like, oh, come on.
I got yelled at by the announcer because I'm sitting there laughing. They're doing a TV tape.
That was the first thing they told you. You're not allowed to laugh. You're on TV.
I'm laughing. He's like, Tony, I told you can't laugh. And behind me, I have Jim Place, Kevin Cavanaugh, these guys from CJ who are coaches, and other people we know that had tickets in the front row. And the TV taping, they were shooting across court, so it would be behind where Flyer first row and press row is. There's 700-800 people. So the TV taping looks like there's a lot of people. Well, the Samoan's like, Tony, give me your chair. And I'm sitting there laughing. He goes, don't laugh. Give me the chair.
Remember
So I give him the
Rotundo and
chair.
Kevin Sullivan?
Yeah.
Sullivan jumps out of the ring, grabs a water bottle, and starts squirting people in the face. And he looks back down and he goes, now laugh. And you can't. Rotundo's above us in the corner. And he's chopping somebody and they're jumping up. And he looks down and he goes, I can't say what he said. And then he looks up, I your mother last night. And then he looks back down and he goes, come on, I know you're going to laugh. It was almost fun to these guys trying to get you to crack. But just to see that behind the curtain, unbelievable. I remember a couple of them, if you saw them try to throw a football or catch it, you'd swear they never played anything.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jam Garvin was one I remember. It's like, wait a minute, you're actually an athlete, dude?
Yeah.
And if I remember right, The Undertaker back then,
Mean
Mark was not
No.
real talented with a football in
But
his hand.
he was large.
Well, Kevin Nash, I can still remember under the thing.
Yeah.
When Dusty Rhodes or Flair told him, you need to be a solo. He was with the Master Blasters.
Yep.
And they told him, you need to go solo.
Yeah.
Good thing he did. The masked Russian. Hey, that's Henry Finkel.
Yeah.
Puts his mask back on.
Yeah.
I gotta go. He's in there getting dressed.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't he a pretty good college basketball
Played
player?
basketball at Tennessee.
Yeah. He actually,
I don't know how much he played.
He's
on the club.
Yeah, he was on the club for 4 years.
What else you got for us, Lee? Anything good?
I did have a question that I thought I'd ask. I know we're running out of time, but jumping to local sports, if you could open a Hall of Fame describing who really defies a local sports scene, who would you have and why?
Like a Mount Rushmore of the Dayton sports area? It'd have to be more than four faces.
Well, yeah, I mean, whoever you throw in the Hall of Fame.
Don Donner would have to be in there.
Yeah.
Maybe even Tom Blackburn for the history of it.
Yeah, I mean, the court's named after him.
I'll give you one, Tony, that you'd know, and a lot of people, Ted Mills.
Yeah, when you're looking at amateur
Ted
ball.
Mills baseball.
What he's done for the amateur around here.
Yeah.
Mike Kelly. Yeah.
I mean, he could be in the conversation, but I don't know. Well, we win national championships.
Well, Edwin Moses, I
Edwin
guess.
Moses,
Not that he's lived here. Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt.
Yeah.
Steve Yeager.
Yeah.
Boo. You know, Pete played up here in the AA for a while.
What about what's his
Ron
name?
Harper.
You had him on the show. I think the kid that played at Roth.
Dwight Anderson.
Yeah.
Donnie May.
He's supposed to be the best basketball player ever to come out of Dayton, Ohio.
You never saw him in high school or in college.
I saw him play.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I saw him play in the field house.
Unreal.
He used to come over and pick up games.
Dwight Lightning.
He was good.
He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was. He was good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
Maybe you look at, and I'm going to go back a little bit, and I don't know a lot about it, but some of the car racing history they had here. What's his name down in Springboro?
Mears?
That was in the
Salt Walther.
Salt Walther, that's it. Was Savage, was he also?
Sweet Savage?
No, I'm thinking Salt Walther then. The guy from Springboro.
That's a tough question because there's so many guys Wow. That is hard. Well, Nish, you could throw him in there.
Yeah. Throw Nish.
Underhill. He won a national championship at
won a
Wright
national
State.
championship. You go back, old guys in football in town, some of the guys in the
Chuck
NFL.
Noll comes to mind.
Chuck Noll,
Yes.
Pat Cavage, some of those guys.
Well, that's tough. That's good. I'll give you another one if you want to go that route. The broadcasters.
Yeah. Throw him
Omar,
Yeah.
out there.
Tom
Omar, yeah.
Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Omar
Tom
when I
Hamlin.
was a kid. He was
I mean,
great on
there's
Channel 2.
been some good. How about Fran Charles being on? What's he on? MLB Network or Golf
Is he?
Channel now? Yeah, these guys all came through Channel 2.
Larry and Bucky. 35 years
That's
in a row.
kinda
Bucky
hard
for
to believe.
Almost 50 years.
Sure
That's-
is. I mean, people obviously around here know him. But that's a long time. That's Joe Nuxall territory right there.
And I was in where we were at, Rhode Island, with basketball one year. Me and Larry and Bucky are having something to eat in a place by the hotel, and a guy comes up and he starts talking with Bucky. He goes, "You're Bucky Bockhorn, aren't you?" He remembered him when he played with the Royals, and they were up there to play Celtics.
Bucks, is he doing all right? I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, he was just stopped by my room the other day. He's doing fine,
I hope he keeps going as long as he can go.
and he said he will.
Greg Garris, the voice of the Raiders before he died
Before he
in the
died,
mid-90s.
yep.
And
Yep.
you could argue Chris Collins because he's been there since the mid-90s.
Well, you could argue Hartzog too, for that matter. Mikey's
Well,
been
think
around
of
a
that,
long
yeah,
time.
yeah, I
He's
don't
been
know.
there since '89, hasn't he? Or
He and Nick
mid-80s?
Hubert.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Hubert. Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of good ones come through.
Mike's a good example, and we're talking, you say broadcasting, but Mike has been at TV in television in town for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not real easy anymore,
No,
as much
no.
as they wheel and deal people in and out of
I
here.
mean, including doing ball games and that, but just his daily being in TV in town for that long.
That's pretty amazing. As someone trying to get into that field, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Hal
And the
McCoy.
local guy who,
Yeah.
Hal McCoy.
Hal
yeah.
McCoy, that'd be in there. A lot of the people that used to write for the paper. Arch would have to be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dayton has had their fair share of.
Well, it's the only town that's
history.
got two guys in the Writers Hall of Fame, and they don't have a team.
I was thinking there was 3.
Well, there is now. You put Hal McCoy in.
Yeah, Bjork and Collette, the other 2.
Yep.
Yeah, because Cincinnati, I thought had a
But
couple
they got
too.
a team.
They got a team.
They have a major league team. Dayton, Ohio has 3 guys in the Writers Wing of the Hall of Fame, and they don't have a team.
Isn't Dayton still the only college that has 2 Super Bowl winning coaches?
I'm not sure. At one time there was.
I know Gruden and Chuck
Jordan and
Noll.
Noel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to think there was another one. God, Stanford for some reason comes to mind. I don't think that's right, but I know. And you mentioned Blackburn. Why is he not in the Basketball Hall of Fame?
Good question.
I mean, back in the 50s,
Yeah.
Dayton
in
was
the
as big a
60s,
program as there
I
was.
think in the 60s, the University of Dayton had more wins than anybody in the country.
It's insane to think about. I mean, Dayton's the, 11th best sports market?
But they don't
like
have a
mid-
sports talk show.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry.
They have a
Yeah.
good podcast, though. I know the guy that does it.
Well, they have a decent show on Sunday morning with Byers and Kenner. Outside of that, I figured today the train wreck that is 4 to 6, Billy Hamilton conversation, Dayton Dragons.
What are you talking about?
The sports talk show they have here in town.
See, even Tony's unaware of it.
Oh, the wings.
The one Kirky should be on.
Kirky. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should put Kirky back. Just reruns of Kirky.
That was very good the other day. I saw that.
Yeah.
But this is
Reruns of
probably
Kirky.
the Dayton Lions talk too. That'd be more important
The
than
what?
that kickball team. Remember
The
those guys
Dutch
that came in the
Lions.
studio, looked like John Belushi and the Blues Brothers?
They're the Blues and Orange Brothers.
Remember those
That's the
guys?
stuff down in West Carrollton, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. That team down. Okay.
They'd about good time for their conversation. We don't want to talk Ohio State today. That, you know,
Well, I thought Wing was all Ohio State.
if it wasn't, they wouldn't be on the air.
Oh. Well, speaking of that, Lee, I don't know if you could tell me, because you're kind of in the business, how does the programming get decided by a channel when everything they're getting is coming from a feed somewhere? Like, how do they decide what time things are on when and that?
Beats me. I've been trying to get into a job in
I think
this
I
field
can
for
tell
like
you that
7
one.
years.
Now, it used to be, and back when we were on, it was Fox.
Okay.
You have to put so many shows on. It doesn't have to be.
From their stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to guess with Wing, whatever ESPN gives them, you don't necessarily have to play it at that time they're on, like at 9 o'clock, Patrick, or whatever time he was on, as long as you have them on in that 24-hour window. So you could actually shove
Okay.
a show somewhere at
That's
10
why Clark
o'clock.
Howard's on HIO at 6 at night, and his regular show,
Right.
live
You
show
can,
is
as long
out
as
of
you
Atlanta,
put
is
them
like
anywhere in that
2 o'clock.
24-hour window. That's
Oh,
all
has
that
to be
matters.
same
That's the way it
day.
used to be
Has
now.
to be same day.
Unless it's in the contract of, now a show like Dan Patrick, they're going to keep him live for the most part. But I think as a rule, the way it was always explained to me, you can move them wherever you want to move them.
Oh, okay.
Just as long as you play.
As long as you play
day.
Within the
Yeah.
day.
Yep. That's why you should move that train wreck at 4 o'clock to like 4 in the morning. Then the only people you're bothering are roosters and dogs that are out taking a leak.
Dogs listen to radio? Roosters?
Well, yeah.
Well,
I didn't know that.
if you leave your dogs at home and put on NPR, they have to listen to NPR.
You have to do it. We've killed about 2 hours.
NPR? I thought this was a no politics.
I'm still working on cyclical or cyclical or whatever the hell you
even
threw out
say
there.
it.
It's been an hour since we mentioned it.
I'm still amazed you said it.
It's an educational podcast.
I guarantee you, that's going to send a lot of people to the
Nine-
Google and a dictionary when they
9
hear
years of
it.
college right there.
It's going to
Hey,
send me.
you got your money's worth.
I sure did.
It's going to send me to Google when I actually upload this. I'm going to look up that word myself, or hire someone that's been looking for a job for 7 years. But
Well, I'm glad you guys came and did this. We're going to do, I guess, many more. Because like I said, we've got a list of people that are begging to do this.
yeah, I mean, we'll continue the
I mean, it's
roundtable. I mean,
Interesting, to say the least.
yeah,
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity
Yeah,
to
it's
do
been
so.
enjoyable.
I really do.
yeah, it's been a lot of
Absolutely.
fun.
I mean, I just wish the radio people, and they're all on the page, would just, it doesn't have to be me. Just put somebody on. Give these people what they want. It's about the listeners. Let them, my God, we proved it works.
Somehow.
Yeah, no kidding. We haven't figured that one out yet, but give them what they want. Give them a place to be heard, please. My God, just do it. So, again, thanks for doing this, Lee. I'm sure we'll do this
Lee,
again
thanks for having
soon.
me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity too, for sure.
No problem, gentlemen. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll do another roundtable coming up on the podcast.
Or square table, whichever.
Word
Or,
table.
yeah. No, this is a rectangle table.
No, it's
See?
not cyclical.
It's,
No,
yeah,
cyclical
it's
would be
not-
round.
Like
Yeah.
the one back there in the
Right.
game room.
Exactly. It's rectangle.
A game room. I thought you'd have a game room.
Well, look back there. Got
I know.
Nerf hoops,
Yeah.
hockey game.
Yeah.
It's got the hockey
Got
game,
it all
yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Most people call that a bedroom, but nah.
Nah.
Nope.
Game room.
That's a game room.
Well,
So,
bedroom, game room.
Mattress Polo.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
All right, that does it for episode 16 of the Gem on the Queen's Crown. I want to thank our guests today, Adam, Tony, and Mark Schlemmer, as always.
You don't have to edit this one as much.
No.
I behaved myself
Hey,
today.
there won't be any editing from me.
No. There's one thing I got to edit. but
I
that's-
know what it is. It's Lions.
Yeah, two things. Two things I have to
You
edit.
got a lot to learn about radio, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I tried to keep it. I tried to keep it professional in nature.
Hey, like I said, it's been a lot of fun, and Mark, we'll do this again sometime soon, all right?
Works for me.
You can listen to the podcast on iTunes and your favorite podcasting apps on Google Play, iHeartRadio app, StreamPod.net, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, theleewmowen.com, and GemCitySports.com. There's a lot of ways to listen into the podcast, and you can also get email updates. Just go to theleewmowen.com, click on podcast in your email, and bam, you get them every time I make a podcast. Adam, Tony, Mark, been a lot of fun.
Been very
Thank you
cyclical.
very much.
Thanks a lot. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
This has been the Gem on the Queen's Crown, episode 16, in the books. Thanks for listening to the Gem on the Queen's Crown. Don't forget to like the Facebook page, the Gem on the Queen's Crown. Follow the podcaster, the Lee W. Mowen, on Twitter and Instagram. Also, visit www.theleewmowen.com and www.gemcitysports.com.